All right, it looks like we are live now. All right, I think Google is still upgrading the Hangouts a little bit, but we're live. So I want to say ETM Hotep, welcome everyone to our Freestyle Fridays. You are hanging out this Friday with the Seshew Medew Netcher. That is the loyal scribes of divine words who are aspiring to be true scribes of divine words. All right. So we're hanging out on Friday as we have been accustomed to do each and every Friday. And we call this Freestyle Fridays because we actually pick different various pictures, whether some things that we find, some things that in our archives, or submitted to us by people in our Facebook group or online. So we take those pictures and we use them to actually test our skills and allow other people to participate and test their skills in the proficiency of Sesh Medew Netcher. And Sesh Medew Netcher is the indigenous name of what most of us know as Egyptian hieroglyphic writing system, the pretty pictorial writing system. All right. So we call it Freestyle Friday because we don't use any books to try to determine the meanings of the words, to try to identify the different glyphs as well. All right. So hence we call it freestyle. We're trying to go from our memory. And so this is what we do. And it's fun. We can make mistakes, and we often do make mistakes because, like I said, we're not using any books. But this is not something that we would do and be the final analysis of any of these pictures that we use. We're using these basically as an exercise to, let us know as a group where we're at, where we are in our competency and proficiency in the writing system. And also, like I said, the participation from the viewers or even those in the Facebook group. All right. So, but before we get started, I would like to pass the mic over to our Sonnet Emiket to recite the offering formula.
So hopefully my screen is showing on your end. Just let me know if it's showing. Okay, good. Well, so what you're looking at on your screen is the offering formula, and at the top is written in what you've heard called the hieroglyphic, or what is known as Sesh Medew Netcher. And in the middle, that is the transliteration, and the last bit is the translation that is obviously in English. And the offering formula, when we read it in the name of the ancestors, which is Aku, as you see here, and this is the hieroglyphics for it. The glyphs for the word Aku there are different words that can be used for the ancestors, but this is one of the generic names. And what I'm going to be reading will be this, which is in a transliteration, and that is what I'm going to read is the pronunciation is what is known as Egyptology speak, and just a disclaimer, it's not an accurate pronunciation. But while I do that, you can go ahead and recite along with me, and on the place where I insert the name of the Aku, you can insert the name of any ancestor that you know that you'd like to include in the offering formula. So I'll just go ahead and read it. Hotep Dinesu, Wasir Nebjedu, Netcher Neb Abju, DF Beret Cheru, Ti Renket Ka Aped Shes Menchet, Ket Nebet Neferet Wabet Anket Netcher Im, In Kani Imahu Ahu Markeru. And the translation is an offering the king gives Osiris, Lord of Jedu, great God, Lord of Abydos, so that he may give verbal offerings in beer, bread, ox, fowl, alabaster, and linen, everything good and pure on which a god lives, for the car of the revered ones, the ancestors, justified. So with that, I'd like to pass the microphone back to Ujao.
All right, Iker, as usual, and Dua. Now, before we move forward, I would like to introduce myself and the panel. Everyone can introduce themselves, but I am running point for our Freestyle Fridays, and my name is Rini Wujau Mineb Eri Ma'at. I was going to pull a Kofi for a minute there, but no. This is Brother Wujau, and I'd like to say ETM Hotep. So I'll pass the mic on over and let everyone else introduce themselves.
Sen Jahudi. I'd like to say welcome, ETM Hotep, to the family. Peace. And yeah, Black African Power, the Mac Tip in the chat. Monique is in the chat, and Lisa Hotep.
Hotep. Rennie Antoine Clark. My name is Antoine Clark. Just like to welcome you, ETM Hotep.
ETM, let's welcome and peace. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the show and leave satisfied. Hotep.
Hotep, Ren'i, Imiket, Ku, Kenshai, and I would like to welcome you all to our Freestyle Fridays. You all know me usually as Tony Cobb, but I'm using my divination name right now. So yes, my name is Imiket, Ku, Kenshai, and welcome to our Freestyle Fridays.
ETL Hotep, Eric, Rennie Sean, and I just want to welcome everyone to the show. And hopefully we'll get some participation from the guys that are testing currently.
All right. So, and other brothers who are not with us, hopefully they'll be joining us shortly. That will be Sun Wer, our elder brother Atiba, son Chris, Noah's Little Real, son Satep, brother Satep, and who am I missing? Oh, and son Demo. All right. And so
Kofi.
Kofi. Son Kofi. Cannot forget Son Kofi. That's, because we didn't hear the dua ooh, dua ooh, dua ooh. All right. So all right. So but before we get into our actual picture for Freestyle Friday, sometimes before we go live or after we come off of being live, sometimes we'll have some interesting conversation that'll pop up, and it'll be kind of like just impromptu discussion of the questions or whatnot. So Brother Antoine, you had brought up a good point before we went live about basically the elders, the elder scholars, I should say, in terms of the information that they have tirelessly put out and that we have access to, fortunate enough to be able to read and everything like that. And then like what people are doing with it, and where do we go? Like, how is our future looking with that? Because I know you mentioned one of the great meetings that happened, I think, here in Georgia with the quote unquote masters, the master teachers and things like that. But that was interesting that we were talking about that. And I don't know if you want to repeat, basically kind of summarize what you were saying.
Yeah, we're sorry about that. Yeah, we're basically just kind of talking about the so-called what we consider the conscious community, and kind of broke into how we got into our different divisions as far as the scientific approach as opposed to the metaphysical approach, and that kind of led me to thinking about a conference that happened in Atlanta. I want to say mid '80s or late '80s possibly, but basically in the meeting. There were some brothers who were not allowed to speak at the meeting. That was Bobby Hemmett and Dr. Phil Valentine. And based on that meeting, based on that situation, it kind of had me questioning and how do we get to where we're at now with the so-called divide between well, some people consider pseudo or metaphysics and the current conscious community, just the divide that we have. So that's kind of how the conversation stemmed and got into that meeting of the masters that occurred.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic, and I think that's something that we should discuss, you know, in the future. I know that that was actually brought up kind of recently, brought up a few times among the Amun-Ra squad. So that was something that the Amun-Ra squad was going to address and still is going to address. So it'll be real interesting. That's an interesting topic because a lot of people are not familiar with how did the conscious community become the conscious community in terms of that, the coining of that phrase for a community of people, you know, intellectuals and things. You know, and then like the chronological timeline of the conscious community. So that'd be really, really good. There's some good conversation there. But also what people have to understand, people need to really get into that and really have a discussion about that. Because it kind of gives you a context to why things are the way they are now in the quote unquote conscious community. But also along with that, people need to understand when it comes to Kemet, ancient Egypt, people have to understand and really look into the different schools of Egyptology. You know, a lot of people will talk about Egypt or talk about Egyptology as if it's, you know, just one bucket of information. And, you know, the body of knowledge is the body of knowledge, but we have different schools of Egyptology that are that pretty much specialize in different areas and are known for advancing different areas of the discipline. So like, for example, we have the German school of Egyptology, the French school of Egyptology, the British school, the American school, and the African school. And what I see a lot of people that will ignore the African school of Egyptology. And many times it may be because of the difference in the publications, because a lot of those that are out of the African school of Egyptology or Kemetology will write in languages that are not English, you know, and that may create this wedge between the knowledge that people in the conscious community will have. So a lot more people will focus on English works, you know. So obviously the American school of Egyptology, the British school, will be prominent in everybody's bookshelves and in their minds and things like that. But we have to take time out to really, really pay attention to the African school of Egyptology, or the Ethiopian school coming out of Shekanta Diop in Senegal, the Senegalese school, or the Ethiopian school, or what else is it called? The African school, you know. So we you know, we really need to look into that and pay attention to that, because there's contributions from all these different schools and what they're known for. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. But we can move forward on our Freestyle Friday, and I want to give a shout out to those who have tuned in live, watching now. I see we have brother Mac Tip, Lisa, Monica. Who else? Shezmu. All right, Hotep, Shezmu. All right, we can always count on Shezmu. Boy, Shezmu's going. Matter of fact, I might as well just put the picture up and let Shezmu just handle it all. You know, I think Shezmu got it right. Also, and the brother Khalik Allah. All right, along with the panel. All right, so we're gonna move forward, and I know it's gonna be kind of weird for those who are watching archives, because you can't see those in the chat, but we try to do our best with the participation. All right, so anybody have any comments while let me just get my screen, share my screen here, lock it on me, and share the picture. By the way, this picture that I'm sharing was selected by Brother Sean. Sean has been our resident picture chooser selector. You can always count on Sean selecting pictures. All right. So if any one of you all can let me know when this shows up on your screen.
Yes, it shows up.
Okay. Let me make sure. All right. I'll zoom in a bit as much as I can without it becoming blurry. And also, just so you all know, and watching live, because on the archives it sets properly. But if you're watching live, you can click on the cogwheel on the video and change your viewing settings to 720p HD. That'll be the viewing quality, so that you can see the picture clearer. All right. So, okay. So with that said, now this is the picture we're going to be dealing with. But let me just run through the Tep-Hesed, or the correct methodology in transliterating and translating ancient Egyptian inscriptions. All right, there are 4 steps to this method, and this method is not something that is exclusive to the Seshew mdw Netcher. It's not exclusive to any one particular person. This is a pretty much universal method in the process of transliterating and translating. All right, even if we were to go back in time and be there among the ancient Remich, which is the indigenous name for the ancient Egyptians, if we would be among them, they would be doing the same method. It's just that we wouldn't pinpoint it as a step-by-step method, because they would be doing it so fast and so fluidly, because they would be, ingrained in the culture and the language and so on. All right, so it'd be second nature. But regardless, these are the steps that take place. All right. Step 1 is to identify the direction in which the signs are to be read. And that's a very fast step, especially once you get used to the directions. And there's only 4 possible directions. It's either left to right, right to left, in rows or in columns. So in other words, you read it, the text is going to be in rows, which we would say is horizontal text, or in columns, which we would say are vertical text. And they will be read either left to right or right to left. All right. That's step 1, to make that determination. Step 2 is to identify each individual sign. Okay, you have to identify each individual sign, and obviously the more signs that you have in your memory, then you won't have, that step would be a fast as well. That's why I say that the ancient Egyptians themselves, who would be reading inscriptions, the scribes who would be writing them and reading them, that process would be very fast, because they would have a lot of them in their memory. That's step 2. And step 3 is to identify actual words, which means that you would be doing pattern recognition. You would see individual signs grouped together as words, and you would identify those words, and then you would identify the meaning of them, and you would utilize a dictionary to deal with the meaning of those. All right. And then step 4 is the final step, is to actually have a walk away with a sensible translation, which means you're coming from a source language into a target language. And for us, it would be English. And because your source and target languages may differ in grammar and the structure of the language, this is where translations will become an art as well as a science. And this is why different people may have slightly different translations, but it should all be within the same semantic range to convey a proper meaning. Even though the word choices of words may be different. For example, one person may say queen, another person may say king's wife, another person may say royal wife. Those are 3 different ways of saying basically the same thing. All right. So it won't take away from the intended meaning, what's trying to be conveyed. So those are the 4 steps. And so now when we freestyle on Friday, The difference is that we, on step 2 and step 3, we don't use any books. So we don't use a sign list to identify the signs, and we don't use a dictionary to identify the meanings of words. So Freestyle Friday is a little different for us, and we tend to combine step 3 and step 4 as we go along. All right, so keep that in mind as we go. So if someone on the panel, let me see if I can increase this picture. Okay, this is the whole picture here. Let's see if I can hide that. All right. This is the whole picture. I'm going to zoom in just on this top portion so we can see more of the text. Close up. And scroll down a bit. All right. So that should be better. I just want to make sure it shows up like that on the YouTube side. Okay, yep. All right, it's like a slight delay. All right, so step 1, identifying the direction in which the signs are to be read. So it's anybody on the panel want to handle step 1, let us know that, and then tell us why.
What's up? Step 1 would be to identify the directions the signs are facing. And we would start at the top of this, if you can hear me. Oh yeah. Glyph, the Stella, and the signs are all facing to the right. So the top 3 rows, we will have horizontal right to left, and then the vertical columns would be vertical right to left. Now, the reason for that is because we have plants, animals, all, even the person in the picture are all facing to the right. In this particular situation, we have the sitting deities or people in the vertical columns. They're looking to the right. We have our birds, all the birds, they're looking to the right. We even got a bitty bee in row 2 looking to the right. We got the fox with the tail sitting on top of a table on the second row that's looking to the right. We got we got everything. All our monoliterals are pointing to the right. So as far as our birds and the hands, even was that a cutoff head deer? Yeah.
All right, that's excellent. Basically, everything is facing to the right, so we're going to read from the right to the left. All right. Now, one thing about step 1 in making that determination, not really making a determination, but in the reading process, is that you're going to read the direction, you're going to read into the glyphs. So it's as though you're imagining yourself facing the glyphs, and very easy way to remember that is how we talk to each other, humans. We don't talk to the backs of our heads. We talk to people face to face. Or that's the appropriate thing to do, is to talk to people face to face. And so it's the same principle there. But what gets a little bit confusing for some people is like within a row, like if you just isolate one row, you have glyphs that are on top of each other. So like, for example, if you can see this group here, these are 3 glyphs that are on top of each other. So because they're on top of each other, a lot of times we'll get asked the question, well, what will be the order that you read those? And so you read the direction, but you're going to read top down and in that direction. So simultaneously, you're going to read in the direction you're supposed to read. So in this case, right to left, but you're going to read top down. So the first glyph in this row would be this water ripple. And the second glyph would be this spine, animal backbone, spine. And then you have this placenta here. So that would be the order. And likewise over here and so on. So you're going to read in the direction, but you're going to read top down. And even in the columns, the same way. You're going to read top down, but you're going to read from right to left in this case. So, like, for example, this grouping here, actually, this is not a good example to use because this is an honorific transposition. So let me choose this one. Like, for example, this grouping here, you're going to read top down, but when you get to glyphs that are side by side, you're going to read the one on the right first before the one on the left because the direction is from right to left, but you're going down simultaneous. All right, because these are in columns. So that's the only part that may confuse people. But other than that, it's very straightforward. All right, so that establishes that first, the first step. So the second step is to identify the individual glyphs. So normally we would use a sign list because a sign list will tell us a description of the glyph, what it is. It would tell us the Gardner code, which are the relationship of the Gardner code to the glyph is pretty much, it's just a labeling system. It has nothing to do with, it has no effect on the meanings of these glyphs or anything like that. It's a labeling system to be able to identify the glyphs and to be able to put some structure and order to the glyphs when we're discussing them. So it's called the Gardner's sign list or the Gardner's codes because Gardner is the one who is attributed with categorizing the glyphs. So in other words, he basically grouped all the like glyphs under one category, which are the alphabetical letters. So for example, the letter M, as in Mary, is the name of the category for all of the vegetation glyphs. So all the glyphs that deal with plants, trees, and all the vegetation is under category M, as in Mary. Category D, as in dog, are all the glyphs that deal with human body parts. So this is just an organizing way. All right. So that's what step 2 would entail. But like I said, we're not using the sign list to be able to look these things up. So we want to go from memory. All right. So if anyone on the panel would like to give some glyphs, identify some of these glyphs. Now I want to exclude the monoliterals. And for those who don't know what monoliterals are glyphs that stand for a single consonant, one consonant. Hence the word mono, literal, mono meaning one. And also some people call it uniliteral, uni meaning one. Like, uno, uni, universe, one. So one consonant. So we want to skip those because by the time anyone sits down and transliterate or translate text like we're doing here, it's assumed that you already have those memorized. It's a must that you have those memorized. You have to memorize those early in your studies. Okay, so there are 24 individual monoliterals. That represent 25 because the reed leaf is doubled for this to represent this Y. I don't see any double reed leaves quickly with my eyes here that are together, but a reed leaf is this glyph here that's doubled to represent the Y. So that's why you may see some people say it's 24 monoliterals and some people will say 25. There's 24 individual glyphs, but they're actually 25 monoliterals. All right. So skipping those, anybody on the panel want to identify, and I'll just follow with my cursor. You just let me know the row or the column, and you can identify some of the glyphs that you see.
I guess I can identify some.
All right.
In the top row, the top row we have soup plant.
Mm-hmm. That's right here.
We have the conical loaf.
Yep.
And I know the whole the whole formula that I recognize. We have the throne, which would be a triliteral. Eminet was at the standard.
Here. Oh, here.
After Usir Neb.
Mm-hmm.
The Netcher flag.
Yep, everybody should be familiar with that.
Yeah, we should know that one. And I recognize the Ka, the arms raised. Next to the arms being raised, we have the determinative for land. Newt, I think it's called.
Oh, for city or village, not
For
necessarily.
city, yes, city. Next to that is the Perekaru. Let me see. I think that's the last sign on this is the Wab.
Okay.
Looks like the
Cursor comes back. Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm.
yes, that's some signs I recognize in the first column.
Okay. And see, even as you're naming them.
I mean Rome's.
No, I'm saying even as you're naming them, you like this last one, you said the last sign is Wab. Now you're not. Now see, in step 2, you wouldn't know that that's Wab. You would, step 2 would give you the code for it and identify what it is. It's a leg and foot with water, a jar of water being poured out. Like that would be identifying the sign. But in your head, you already know that that's the word Wab. So that's why you said it. You're like, okay, Wab. And I'm only pointing this out because this is how fast that these steps take place. Like, when you're used to doing this, you almost bypass all of the other stuff because you already know that. So you're jumping right to the word that it represents. Wab. Okay, that means Wab, already. So just wanted to point that out. All right, anybody else for any other ones? And then also, just real quick though, a lot of signs, just like, even in English, when we write, let's say you write a full page of information on a piece on paper, or you type out a couple of paragraphs on paper, you're gonna repeat a lot of characters we call letters of the English alphabet, because there's only 26 letters in the English alphabet. So obviously they're going to be repeated, but they're going to be arranged differently to express these words. So in a written form, words are simply patterns of characters, unique patterns of characters. So you can have two words that contain the exact same characters individually, but they're arranged different, and that different arrangement will produce two different words. Okay, so, and this is true for pretty much all the scripts around the world, especially alphabetic scripts that deal with that have an alphabetic component to it. So likewise, I'm saying that to say, because you see the standard here, you see it right here, you'll see it repeated. You'll see it over here. As soon as my cursor come back, you see it over here. I don't see it anywhere else, but you'll see things repeated, So even though you may look at a large inscription, step 2 may seem like it'll take a long time, but once you realize that some of these signs are going to be repetitive, then, you already figured out, like for the sedge plant here, the sedge plant is here. The city determinative is here and here. So again, it won't take too long. But anybody else want to identify a few more?
Can y'all hear me?
Watch the Avengers.
Oh yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think on the first column, I think that was right after the sedge. Oh, right below the raised bread loaf was the Hotep sign, I think, the offering table. And And then we had right underneath the I, there was the basket, the paddle of a nib. And after the Netcher sign, I think we had the wooden column. And then we had the, I don't know if that was mentioned, but we have the chisel. Yes, and I think the other sign might be the mountain, the Jew sign. And what else was it? And then we have, after the Peret Kheru, we have the, what is it called? The one for Kha sign. Can't remember the name, but yes. And I'm assuming the other part right after it must be the Ka Aped. Just going with what normally appears, yes. And then we have right after it, I think it's the placenta.
Okay, well, let me pause you for a second, because you're doing the same thing that Jehuti Ma'at did. Now, see, when you said this one, you said Ka Aped.
Yeah, the accent file, yeah, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm just pointing out that's how fast that this takes place in our minds, that, you know, once we get used to it, we don't even say, okay, this is an ox head, you know, this is the head part of a bird, you know, this is not, we don't say this is a lotus stalk, you know, this is a boat oar, this is a opening of a enclosure. You know, we're not even describing it that way anymore. We're saying Peret Keru. We're saying this is Ka, this is Ka Aped, you know. So for the listeners, though, for people who'll be watching this archive and listening now, we just got to be mindful of that, because step 2, we're identifying the signs. You know, step 3 is where we will be dealing with the words it represents and everything.
Yeah, usually kind of forget what the, well, you know, the names, the definitions, and you just go to, you know, the well, what they mean phonetically. So, but yes, I think, and then on the second row, I see the water ripple.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will have to do the same thing because I forget what it is called again. What is the imach sign?
Right.
Yes.
Spine, the backbone, the spine.
Yes, spine and backbone with the placenta underneath. And then I think we have the placenta again. And okay, we're not naming the monolith. So I'll go to the, what is it called? Is it canine in, you know, on an altar?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then we have the head in profile. And apart from the monolith, I think we have the mountain too.
Mm-hmm.
After it, and then we have the bee. And then we have a seal. And I will leave the monolith alone and go, the chisel is a repetition. And then the other sign, I will have to do the same thing again because I forget what it is, but maybe it's a lead.
Yeah, right there. It's like, I thought there was like a harp or something.
The wa sign, the lead. I think it's called the lead. And then we have the tongue.
This particular sign is Mr. Wise, the harpoon.
Harpoon, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, and then we have the tongue and live apart from the head. I will jump that because I'm not sure what it is I'm looking at. And then I think, I don't know if that's a throw stick. It looks like one, but not sure. And then we have
This is the pestle.
oh, it's at the pestle. Okay, so that's the pestle, and then we have the wasp sign. Yeah, I don't know what it's called really. So
Well, right there,
but
that's
it's
the
the white with
Canaan. What is the Canaan? Canaan head, something like that. Canaan head on a stick or something. I can't remember exactly the name, but it's something Canaan head. Canaan head.
Yeah. Yes, and then I think then
Is
we
the song
have
before that? Is that it?
where?
That's the pestilence sign. That's the TI. That's TI. The pestilence sign.
So before that,
It looks like some kind of animal. I'm not sure what it is.
like a goat or something.
It looks like one of those headless. But we'll figure it out. Not sure at this moment, so anybody else can pitch in on that. And I think that's about it. We have right at the end, the three last signs in the end. We have it's called the hope from
It's the sickle.
yeah, sickle. Yes, and then we have, what is it called again at the bottom? I forget the name. I just know what it means.
Okay, that's the
sickle
pedestal under it.
Okay, pedestal, and then you have the O after that.
All right.
And
okay.
I'll just leave that for somebody else to continue.
All right. I think that's enough to display step 2. And so again, step 2 is to identify different glyphs. Now we don't have time to identify every single glyph, so that's should be sufficient to go over step 2. Now before we go to step 3, which will be to group these signs into words, I do want to say that Sesh Medew Netcher has no punctuation in terms of spacing to differentiate one word from the other, or commas or periods, like we're fortunate enough to have in English. So in English, the patterns are pointed out for us by way of spacing. But in Sesh Medew Netcher, we don't have that luxury, so we have to do pattern recognition and be very good at it. So what helps us to recognize these patterns, or to determine where one word ends and one begins, is what we call determinatives. Determinatives are glyphs. They're ideographs that help us to determine the meaning of the word that they belong to. And the reason why they help us to determine one word from another is because they always come, well, not always, most of the time. There are some exceptions, but most of the time they come at the end of the different words. All right, so we can use those to say, okay, this is the ending of a word, and we're about to begin another word. All right, so step 3, we would be doing that pattern recognition, and then also we would know, once we recognize the word, then obviously we would try to recall the meaning of the word. All right, so but before we get into that, let's see if anybody in the chat wants to chime in on that step, because that's usually a step that we can get some participation from. So, and I know there's a slight delay from when I'm talking to by the time it shows up on YouTube. But if you're going to participate and kind of point some things out and type it, just let me know. Just say what row it is or what column, because we're dealing with 3 rows and 4 columns. So just say, if you want to identify a word in row 1, say row 1 and just put the word, and I'll be sure to find it and isolate it. So I'll give a second to see if anybody wants to participate.
Tablet, he started with the Hotel D Nasu.
Okay. Oh, that must be scrolling up. Who's that? Who you said?
Khalid.
Okay.
Yeah, he's up a bit. He came out the gate firing.
Okay, and that's good. That's good. Let's see. I'm trying to see where he said it. Okay, I don't see it, but okay. So Hotep Dinasu, which will be this set of glyphs right here, if my cursor would. Right. Yeah, there you go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These 4 glyphs are express the phrase Hotep di Nasu. And this is what they would call a formulaic expression because it's very, very common. And it's pretty much so common that it's written out in a heavily abbreviated form. And you have honorific transposition going on as well. So this is something that you would just recognize and memorize. All right, so that's what this phrase is saying, Hotep di Nasu, which is what the brother gave. Was there anything else? Son Shesmu asks, is this an offering formula? And I think he can answer his own question now with that, Hotep di Nasu. All right, and you definitely recognize the honorific transposition. Was there anything else anybody identified?
Yeah, I think Khalik also did identify the next part, which is Wesser. When we say Neb.
Okay, to you. And let me just box that. So he said, Wasir Neb, and that's correct. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is arranged differently than how we would be used to seeing it. A lot of times we're used to seeing the name Wasir with the eye above the tall throne and then the seated bearded man that's right beside the throne. So we see the throne, the seated bearded man, and the eye right above it. That's the most common way that we would see it. But this is a variation that you see right here. And also sometimes you'll see the eye under the throne. All right. So, and I say that throughout this entire process, we are always reminded to be flexible. All right. Because a lot of these rules that we're saying, they're not 100% 24/7, 365. In other words, they're not always stuck in stone. You know, there are some exceptions, but there's reasons for these exceptions, but there are some exceptions and things. So you know, I say that so that people won't panic when they're trying to do this process and then they find something that goes against, you know, what they thought was a rule. And then, you know, they would abandon ship and not continue to move
I got
forward.
a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Is Neb being used as an adjective here?
No, it's not being used as an adjective. And you can tell that by the context of what's around it. So he's saying Hotep di Nasu Wasir Neb, and then we have this next word will let you know that this is being used as a noun and not an adjective. Because if it was an adjective, it would be all. Because the two possibilities for Neb would be, you know, Lord, which would be the noun, or possessor, Lord, possessor, owner. Or as an adjective, it would be the word all. And so we're not saying all Wasir. We're saying Wasir, who is possessor, owner, Lord of, and then the next word right here, which would be Aminet, which would be the west. So an offering the king gives Wasir, who is Lord of the west. And then we keep on going. I just want to see if anybody. Okay, brother. Black History 365. He says in the second row, the headless cattle has a value of kin, and that's correct. And he's talking about this right here, this headless animal, kin. All right, but let's go back to the first line. So I'm just trying to see if there's any more participation there. All right. So Shesmo, where you at? Shesmo usually have this whole thing done already, you know? I guess Shesmo's like, all right, let me just give everybody else a chance. You know, I won't do it all tonight. You know, it's the holidays. I'm gonna relax and let everybody else get a chance. All right. Just give a few seconds, a few more seconds on here. And I know it'd be awkward when people are watching the archives, you know, like because the participation bit is a little awkward to anybody watching the archived video because you can't see the participation. But we're going to change that though. We're going to change that. We're going to start using a different platform or, you know, some different tools that will allow you to see the chat as well. So it'd be a lot better. All right. So look forward to that. We have some other, you know, we're trying to improve what we're doing as we do it. Just as, you know, when you know better, you do better. So, you know, sometimes when you have access to better technology or better things, make use of it. All right, they're asking me to zoom in, so let me zoom in. Let's zoom in some. All right, how's that? So you can only see the top 3 rows. If I zoom in, up, that's too close. Okay, right there. I think that's as close as I can get that. All right, so that should be good. All right, Shesmu said much better now. You know, if Shesmu says much better, it's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah, that's why he wasn't participating.
Yep. All right. But yeah, that's the closest I can get it without it, you know, while it's still in the frame. All right. So, all right. Now I don't want too much, you know, silence and dead space on the video. So let's just go ahead and continue. He's saying one more. Yeah, see, it goes off the screen a bit. But we could I'll move it over. We'll do it like that for this first row. All right, so since Shesmu had a request to zoom in a bit, I just want to give him a chance to identify a word or two. Some more words in the first row.
Hey, can I mention something about stuff that will help you with the grouping?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
We always talk about the determinatives that'll help you with figuring out the grouping, and also keeping in mind that the glyphs are written down in like a grid kind of grid format. So the glyphs will be written in like quadrants. So I mean, if you see a group of glyphs all together in the same quadrant, you pretty much know that they go together.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, a lot of these in the process of scribing, the scribes would have drawn these glyphs first, and then they go into chiseling, whether it's incised or raised. They call it incised relief or raised relief. Incised, they're digging into the material, and raised, they're scraping away around it. And I can imagine that the raised relief would take longer because you have to remove everything around what you want to leave, which will be the glyph, versus incised, where you're actually just carving into it the actual glyph. So, man, you know, we really have to appreciate this. You know, matter of fact, I'm going to post inside of our Facebook group. I'm going to post some real close up quality pictures, a few that I have of some individual glyphs where you can see the detail lasting to this very day. I mean, this stuff is, 5,000, up to 5,000 years old. And for the kind of detail that we're still seeing to this very day to still exist is amazing. It's amazing. It's well preserved, and just imagine we're looking at it 5,000 years later. Imagine when it was first done, the precision of how these things look. And when I say precision, I'm talking about you can look at a vulture and see all of the feathers. Or look at a quail chick and see all of the feathers. Look at the basket and see the weaving lines of the basket, So I have a few I'll be sharing inside of our Facebook group. All right, so I see Shezmu did provide some more. He said Netcher in Neb. Okay, I see where he's speaking about. But yeah, this is kind of hard to see. Okay, now this okay, I'm glad that he said Netcher in Neb. Now, that's not in. Now, when we're doing this, we have to use all of the tools all of the tools available to us. So context clues are important. And so this is why in step 2, when you identify all of the glyphs, you would know that these water ripples, see these water ripples right here? This is one where my cursor is. This is another one. This is another one. This is one. This is one. This is one. All of these water ripples are very jagged up and down strokes. And if you look at this, even if at first you want to say, okay, this is Netcher and then in Neb, you would have to tell yourself, no, this is not an N. This is not a water ripple, because if you look at all the other water ripples, they're nothing. They look nothing like this. So this will be something else. That's one thing. Then number 2, once you do this often enough, you'll start to just recognize these phrases and words right off, from memory. So you'll say Netcher ah. This is a column on its side. So spelling out the phrase Netcher ah. So all of these other things I'm saying are like kind of hints and things that you'll get used to and develop as you go through this process. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out. But I'm going to zoom back out a little bit because it's not showing the full picture. I got to zoom back out a little bit right there. Okay, so for time's sake, let's go ahead and start to identify some more words. So does anybody want to identify any words?
I recognize when I said in the beginning, when I said that was the arms raised, I see this. That's the land now. The hills are 2 hills.
Okay, yep.
I'm saying that is the word abju.
Yes, and that would be this entire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 glyphs would spell the place name Abju.
Two.
All right. Anybody? Anything else?
It's Perret. I know that's Perret Karu. Next, we have Perret Karu. Then I think it's the sign 4,000. So that'll be invocation. Oh, so we're doing. We recognize them and we're translating them too.
Yeah, we're gonna combine step 3 and 4. Yeah.
Okay, so Abju Abydos. We have invocation offerings, invocation offerings. Of would that be cattle and fowl? It looks
Ka and Aped.
Ka and Aped.
Now I want to back up a little bit because sometimes these two things right here, wait a minute, get my cursor back. Okay. These 2 items right here are sometimes explicitly listed and then sometimes they're not. And this is a case where it's not, but you still see them. So we have Peret Cheru, but we also have Ti Henket, which is bread and beer. So we have bread and beer right there on the side of this or. So we have peret cheru and then bread and beer. So we have to take that into account when it's not explicitly listed separately. We still have to be mindful of that. Peret cheru ti henket, ka aped, and then the rest. Now this should be very, very familiar to us because we pretty much say a generic formula in the beginning of all of our shows now. So this top line should be a breeze. Actually, the top line and down to here in the second row should be a breeze because that's very, very common. So who else on the panel? So you stopped at ka aped. So we have oxen and fowl. Today that would be steak and chicken. I always say that because it's easy to remember when you kind of think of it like that. Steak and chicken. So you got some bread, you got some beer, steak and chicken.
All right, when we pick up where you left off.
Yeah, if you can. Yep.
All right, the two signs on the top, that's ket, transliterated xt for things. Underneath that, we have neb for all or everything. To the left, we have, we transliterated nfr. I think it's the windpipe, or it's an animal part in the animal parts. And then we talked about the last symbol on this row is WAB, W-A-B for clean. So that's saying all things good and pure.
Okay. All right, so that's the whole top line. So, to kind of just give them fluid translation, is the offering that the king gives Wasir, who is Lord of the West, the great God, Lord of Abydos. And then it goes right into it. A voice offering of bread, beer, 1,000 of ox, birds, and everything good and pure. And then, so now that brings us to the second line here. So anybody want to pick up? And remember in our previous shows, I always encourage people to, when they practice this, to pick a genre of text. So this object that we're looking at is they would call this a stela, and funerary stela. So if you're going to practice this, it's best to stick with one genre and become accustomed to it. And the reason why that is because you're going to start to see the individual patterns, the small patterns of words, but then in a bigger scheme of things, you're going to see larger patterns of how things are structured. So this is an offering formula, and you're going to notice that there's different elements of the offering formula that are pretty universal, even though the details of it may change, but the underlying structure of it will be there for all of them. So it always starts off with Hotep Dinasu, and then you'll find that a deity's name is going to be mentioned, and most of the time it's going to be either Wasir or Enpu, and then some of their epithets. And you're going to become accustomed to what epithets go with Wasir. Wasir is always called Kinti Amintiyu, but sometimes Kinti is omitted. So we have Aminti, Lord of the West. A lot of times it would be Kinti Amintiyu, which is the foremost of the West, the great God, and then Abydos is always associated with Usir, et cetera, et cetera. So so my point is that you'll just become accustomed to this, to the underlying structure of these things by sticking with one genre of text. And then, once you get comfortable there, then you can move on to a different kind, So the two biggest ones that people can put to practice, and there's plenty of, are funerary stele and the various different Peret Imheru, so-called books of the dead. That will it's plentiful. You never run out. All right. So, all right. So now we're moving on to the second line. So how long have we been on? Because like I said, I don't want to drag this too far out.
It's like an hour now, I think.
Okay, that's good. We still are good. Shesmu has okay. I'm trying to keep track of the chat. Okay, Black History 365 has third row. Let's see, third row. He has EU, and I'm trying to find EU, and I do not see EU. And mdw Netcher mer. Okay, I see he has Netcher, and he has ear, and he has mer, and Hess. Oh, he's identifying non-monoliths. Okay, that's good. All right. Okay, so let's continue though. We have still second row. All right, so I will do the second row. So we have ni imaku, which is for the revered one. Then we have kar and pu, which is before anpu, or in front of, or in the presence of anpu. People know it's alibus. And then after that we have tepi ju-f, which is who is upon his mountain. Ju-f, Ju is word for mountain, and F is word for his. And then we have Katimti, BT Samir Wa. After that. And that, that's a phrase, you'll just come to know that BT Kemet or Kimti BT.
Can you box them in?
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. We have, okay, let me start over. So we have Ni Imaku, which would be for the revered one. And then, all right, my cursor. Okay. Then we have Ker, which is in front of, on the presence of, or before. And then we have Enpu. Then we have Tep or Tepi. And then we have Ju. And then we have F. Tepi Ju F, which would be who is upon, and then his mountain. So we have Ju F, his mountain. Then we have BT. Transposed, honorific transposed, be Ketemti BT, which this is a person. This is a title. This is a title now, and Kemti BT would be or Kemeti BT would be a seal bearer, basically. All right, and then we have Sumer. Let me do that correctly. Sumer. Then we have Wati. Sumer Wati. This will be unique friend. The word Samir means friend or companion, and then Wa would be one, the word for one, but in this case it means one as in unique. A soul. Soul solo, one, unique, etc. So the sole companion or unique companion or unique friend. Then we have Imira. This is a very short form of Imira, which is the tongue. And Imira means overseer, chief, overseer, somebody in charge. And then we have Kinti. As a brother said, that this headless animal is kin. So you have Kinti, and then you have Wasir. Then you have the word C in afterwards. Now this is funny because just like the word BT, just like the word Nisut over here, you see my cursor, this is also an honorific transposition, Wasir. So this is actually, and the reason why I know this, not the only reason, but what gave me a clue is that when I was getting ready to do this next word, it allowed me to know, okay, let me back up and look at this, because I said Wasir and then C, Wasiret, and then we say C in, and that really doesn't make sense. And why it doesn't make sense? Because when I was going to do this word, which is makeru is a phrase that comes after someone's name, usually comes after someone's name. So this lets me know, this alerted me to know that, okay, this is somebody's name. So here are all the epithets of this person. So here's a title. So we're dealing with Wasir, we're dealing with Ampu, and now right here we got the seal bearer, the closest friend or the unique friend, the chief of the chief of the Kinti, which would be the foremost, you know. Not the foremost as in Kinti, as in like Kinti Amintiu, but kin in this sense with this animal is the capital X in, which would be the interior, a home. So it would be the overseer of the interior, you know. And then we have Makeru. So obviously we have the person's name. So this is the name of C, or what most people will pronounce Sin Wasoret, but it's actually Sini Wasoret, the man of Wasoret. That's the name there. And then we have Makeru. So again, this is why you have to be flexible, because when I, you know, as you're going through it, you see how I would have made a mistake saying Wasoret CN. I'm like, wait a minute, that really doesn't make sense. And you move on, Makeru, like, all right, wait a minute, this is a name. And you know, names are you know, tricky. And then it let me know, okay, Sinwasaret. A lot of people know him Sinwasaret, or you know, the name as Sinwasaret, and that's what it is, Sini Wasaret. But most people pronounce it as Sinwasaret. That's most likely who we're looking at right here. This big figure right here. All right, and you see this here again, the interior, with the purr right there, down there, and so on. But I don't want to jump ahead. All right, so that's the second line. And so now we could go to the third line. And feel anybody on the panel, you know, you could feel free to jump on in. Let me just check the chat. See what's going on. All right, yeah, Sin was for that. Brother to the king, Sin. Oh no, not Sin as in brother. It's actually not even Sin. It's for the word brother. It's Z, which means man, which is the doorbolt right here. The man of, so Si Ni Wasaret, the man of Wasaret. And I guess if we fully translate it, it would be the man of the powerful one. and then Makeru, true of voice. All right, so anybody want to do the beginning? Start this one off.
All right. The first two signs probably grouped together. For Jed, transliterated capital D, D, small d.
Let me.
For
I see someone else said they can't see it very well. I'm just gonna zoom in and move it over there. All right. So right, okay. You said this part, right there.
mm-hmm. For said, translated as said, maybe.
Oh, which one? What I just blocked off?
Yeah. Jed.
Okay. Jed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Oh, said, right. Translated as said. I thought you meant said as in SD, like transliterating. Okay, I'm sorry.
Next, we have the reed leaf with the legs.
Mm-hmm.
The any, transliterated INI.
Yeah, yep.
And underneath that, we have a water ripple. So, and then to the left is the M. And then the next three symbols, I think that's grouped together. Newt for city.
Yep.
So it looks like he's saying something like said come to the city or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure for this next grouping. I think it's the next four signs because a lot of the times the legs will be a determinative for some kind of movement or something. I see the water ripple, the enclosure, and the vulture. So transliterated I H capital A Iha. I don't know that word.
This would be the phrase.
Oh, okay.
Haini.
Haini.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then we have
What's that mean?
okay, so start with the context clues.
Mm-hmm.
Look at my thing. So we have Jed. So he said, or said, he said, or says, thus said, and then E in, which is I came, M from, and then Newt E, my town or my village. So I came from my town or my village, and then Ha Ni, went or gone, like as a past tense of go. I went or I go. So I came from my town and I go or I went. And then most people say or ro, to or towards. And then we have these two glyphs combination, which should give us a word. Correct Netcher. Which will be we sometimes we'll see this standard inside this glyph at the same time. You'll see it as a necropolis cemetery. Correct Netcher. To the necropolis, and then continue on. We can slide it over a little bit, and we get to the end. So then we're left with this.
Here, uh,
Anybody else want to tackle that?
What is it? Erie N,
Yeah.
my RRT, Erie N, Mary, Merit, Merit,
Mm-hmm.
R.
We have
Most plural.
yep. So this is R, and then what's this one?
SHCH.
TCH or capital T. And this would be one of those omitted signs that would be right here, but it's omitted. So this would be remich.
So is it beloved?
Oh yeah.
Beloved by Remich.
Mm-hmm.
Or loved by Remich.
Mm-hmm.
And it's plural, so it's talking about multiple, all of them, or the people of.
Right. And then now you have just this left.
I see SST, determinative, Wheatley, Netcher, plural, Netteru.
Mm-hmm.
But the jar, the first jar, I don't know what that is.
That'll be capital H and then Z, or capital H and S. So Hesset, Hesset, and then Netcheru. All right, so let me just go back to the chat just to see if anybody, because I know we didn't translate that last part. Just see if anybody in chat caught it. Let me scroll back up. I see people were getting busy there. Like I said, see, told you, once Shazmu cut loose, that's it. He says, I want to say Jed Medu in. Okay, not quite Jed Medu in. Spoken from. Okay, I'm just trying to follow on. Early in. Okay, correct. I'm just looking at what Shazmu was saying. Early in, correct. Marer. But it'd be Meret. Marut or Maret. And then he has R, capital T. That's correct. Now, just keep in mind. Now, I just want to make this clear too, that when we transliterate, transliteration is an orthographic endeavor, right? And these are terminologies that people really have to take time out and understand, because without this understanding, a lot of people will get confused very quickly, and this is the cause of this latest craze about the Sesh Medew Netcher not being deciphered. It's because of the lack of understanding of these terminologies and what they stand for and how it works. So transliteration is an orthographic endeavor, and by that it simply means that you are moving, which is the word trans. You're moving from one script, or orthography is another word for orthography, basically. You're moving from one script to another. That's it. So you're moving from a source script into a target script. So for us, the source script would be Sesh Medew Netcher, which are the pretty glyphs that we see, and we're bringing it over into another script, which is technically the Latin script or Latin orthography that we use for English. Okay, so we're bringing it there, and I'm bringing this up because transliteration is pretty precise. It's a science to it. Whereas these glyphs are mapped to a orthographic character in the English script or the Latin script. So when we do this, we use a transliteration system called manual decodage, and manual decodage is case sensitive. So by being case sensitive, the capital T and the lowercase t represent two different glyphs. So we have to be mindful of when we're typing it out on social media and stuff like that. We have to be mindful of that. It's the same way as your passwords and stuff. Like when you create passwords to websites and stuff like that, most passwords are case sensitive. You may know the password, but if you don't type it in the same capitalization and stuff like that that you originally did it with, you're never going to get into your own accounts. So this is the same way in terms of manual decodage. It is case sensitive. So when you type it out, make sure you be mindful of that. All right. So just wanted to put that out there because I'm seeing brother, Sheshew, I'm seeing you're typing in all caps. So just, I don't know, you may have cap locks on, but yeah, picky. He said we're so picky. Yeah, you have to be. This is a scientific thing. See, that's what I'm saying. In chemistry class, let's say you mix difference between helium and the next element on the periodical chart will be only the difference of a electron. But yet it's a completely different element. Or, I'm just giving an example. And you mixing two of these things together and you blow up the whole classroom. So we have to be picky. We have to be precise. It's a very scientific it's a scientific thing that we're doing, and we got to take it that way. And see, that's why people are confused. This is why the very few people out there feel that the language hasn't been deciphered. It's because people take it for granted. Linguistics is a hard science, no different than biogenetics, chemistry, astrophysics, and the whole nine, So we have to be very, very precise and very, very scientific with it. All right. I guarantee you that if I told you that you won $1 million lottery, but you got to give me your social security number to claim your prize, I guarantee you're going to be picky with your social security number. You're going to make sure that you give the correct social security number. And as another analogy example, if I try to call a person, if I try to dial your number and I get one number off, I will not be talking to you. It's just that pretty much cut and dry. It's that simple. I will not be talking to you. I'll be dialing somebody else, So we have to remember that this is a very precise thing. All right. And we need to be as precise as possible. All right. So let me zoom back out a little bit. Okay, now for time's sake, we're not gonna do all of it, but let's just see what we can do on the fly. Well, the third line, and I don't think we translated that. Now, from my memory, I'm unfamiliar. I know that the word is hesesset, but I'm not familiar with its meaning from the top of my head. But the rest of the line, Jed, it would be Jed. Jed, E, N, which is past tense, mdw-ntr, and then high N-E, and then mdw Netcher, N-E, Meret, Remich, Hesesset, and then Netcheru. So we have Jed, which would be thus says, or he says if it was Jed F, because sometimes it's so common that the F may be omitted. He said, and then E and E would be I came. Mute, which would be from my town or in my town, and then Hyene, and I went and then which would be towards, Mdew Netcher, which would be the necropolis or cemetery, and then Irini, I made, and then we have Marut, which will be something like that which is beloved of Remich, men or people. And then, like I said, Hesesit escapes me. I don't know what that means. And the Netcheru, which would be the deities or the gods.
I think the Heseset has something to do with praised.
Okay.
So it might be praised by the Netcheru or something like that.
Okay. If that's the case, then it would be I made that which is beloved of men and praised by the gods, or praised of the gods, or beloved of the people and praised by the gods, or praised of the gods, I should say. All right, so that would be and dua for that. That would be the third line. And then we would continue forward. But like I said, I don't want to make this go on too long. We did 3 lines, and we would have 4 more columns to go. So we can either continue this or put this on the website and continue it. Now, mind you, like I said in the beginning, this is by no means would we stop here, because we're going off of memory. So we would definitely check after ourselves and double check and actually look it up and verify what we're going through and what we're saying. So like, for example, I couldn't recall this word hesesut, but obviously, I would look it up and, quickly find it and then add it into the translation as well and double check everything else. All right. So that's what we would normally do. But like I said, Freestyle Friday, this is something that we do as exercise. So hopefully everybody, who participated, you can pretty much see, okay, man, a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to identify the stuff I can now, whether it's individual glyphs or words. So this is a way that you can see your own progress. And then as a group, where one person is may not recall what things are or what they mean, another person will. And that's a perfect example just now. Sonet Emiket let me know Heseset, which would be praised, and I couldn't remember it. So, and then also as well on Brother Jehuti Ma'at, on first glance, this first top row, this looks like the raised arms for the word Ka. But then he came back and realized that this is the hill, the valley, and the hills for the word Jew and Abju. All right, so got to be flexible, and you got to be willing to correct yourself, willing to be corrected by others, and whatnot. All right. So does anybody have any comments about what we're seeing? Zoom back out a little bit. I can keep it up. No comments?
It's a nice picture. I recognize his name also under the Jed pillar, the big one. You can see Sunwar Set's name under there. I don't know if anybody mentioned it yet.
Nope. But yeah, see, that's a good way to spot it.
Yeah, I'm wondering what are those 2 signs on top of is it Nabu or some silver something glyphs right in that section?
Right here. Okay, that is now. You all heard it first on Freestyle Friday with the Seshew Mdew Netcher. That is an extraterrestrial with some buggy looking eyes. It has some long eyes. Matter of fact, this is the inspiration for Jar Jar.
You know, because that's what I was saying, that there was like some aliens on this glyph. I was looking at that part, you know.
No, it looked like the Perret Karoo, the two of them.
Like the golden basket almost.
No, this is Jar Jar from Star Wars. This is just
It does look like that. That's what I thought. You know.
He crying too.
Jar Jar with glasses on. That's all. He has glasses on, and he has, you know, his eyes are bulging out, and you know he got his whiskers and his mouth right there, you know. So, and as a matter of fact, I didn't do it far enough, but you can see his tongue right there too. Yep. No, but let me stop though, because somebody's gonna take that sound bite. See, there are aliens. The Seshew even admitted, no, it is not an alien. But you can't help. See, this is the thing. When you're just identifying unscientifically with just, you know, what looks like what, you can make anything out of anything, you know, and we know that. We definitely know that as children. Every one of us looked up at the sky, looked at the clouds, and try to imagine what the cloud looks like. You know, that cloud looks like a fish. That cloud looks like an elephant or whatever. But it's not an elephant. It's a cloud. It's water vapor up in the sky. You know, so things can look like other things. It doesn't mean that that's what it is. And it becomes clear once you definitely know what it is. But anyway, this is a word for treasurer, because you have the Nebu sign for gold, and then you have the word hedge. So it's silver and gold. So these are houses of silver and gold. So he is the Emi Ra, which is the overseer of the treasury. That's what this is saying. Emi, you see the tongue here is abbreviated form of Emi Ra. So you have Emi Ra, then you have Hedge Nebu. Hedge Nebu, and hedge would be literally means white. It means brilliant white and white metal or white gold. You have gold and white gold. So white gold is what we would call silver today. You know, so that's the word for silver. So altogether it would be the houses of gold and silver. We would just call it treasury. So he's the overseer of the treasury. So he's a banker, for lack of a better word. He's the head banker. He's in charge of the bank. All right. And
Okay, makes sense. We did see it on the other long offering formula we had that mentioned thousands of all different kinds of stuff. A couple of, I think last month or something, but it didn't look like that though. But yeah, it makes sense now.
mm-hmm. So so there you go. That's what that is. But you know, you see how we can even play around. Like I said, it looked like Jar Jar Banks from Star Wars. You know, I'm a Star Wars fan, so right there, that would look like him to me. But it's not. You know, it's
I'm thinking a SpongeBob character.
oh yeah, so it's SpongeBob character.
That too, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I could tell you got children.
I also see Makaru to your right.
Yep. Right here. Macheru. And we have the noble.
It's a netter up here. Sesh T with the netter.
Where you said it? Where you at? Which column?
Third column.
Okay. And
Well,
where you at?
The netter. The beard and flag.
Oh, right.
ST matter right there.
Okay.
Sesh T netter.
And there's the F.
Mm-hmm.
Dot F. And then that's the N29 with the is that the Falcon again? Just like the
You got WPT in your second column.
Second column, you have the WPT right here, all at the bottom right there.
With the, yeah. There's also plural.
And this would be wet. A lot of people know it's wet.
yeah,
And
that's in the Amduet. That word several times.
Yeah, it means wet wet. Well, wet wet means well when it's attributed to a deity, it means they would say it means opener of the way. But it actually, well, I don't say actually like that, but it also means a message. Wet wet means to deliver a message or messenger, a person who delivers a message. So wet wet would be messages or message. All right, so you have that. And depending on what's in front of it, you probably pretty much know whether, what kind of connotation it has for this word, whether it's dealing with ways, whether it's dealing with message and whatnot. Usually like for example, if this like here you have hab. I know this is the word for to sin. This is the verb to sin, hab. And we have su, hab su. So send him irini wep wet, which irin wet, which would mean more so like he was sent, or he is sent, or sent him. And then irini, which means I did, or I created, or I, past tense. So it's either I did it, I created, or I accomplished. And then wet, so that would let me know that this is dealing with messages, or somebody was sent on a mission, because we're dealing with somebody being sent. So let's deal with like a mission. So he was sent and he accomplished the mission or missions. Now that's me without reading this first part going over here, but that's just, dealing with context. All right, but like I said, I don't want to make this go too long. So we'll stop there. We did the first 3 rows, and then we kind of spotted around a couple of these things. We even took a look at Jar Jar Banks or SpongeBob. Oh man, to be on SpongeBob there. But in all seriousness, though, we have to remember that this is Emira, and then we have the treasury. So we have Hedge Nebu, which is the treasury. So in charge of the treasury, and Emira. And then these are 2 eyes. Now, I is Iret. And if it's 2, it's Iret, because Iret is feminine. And to make it dual, you would say Iret. So he's in charge of the 2 eyes. Now, that would be literal, but and like I said, we're going off top of the head. This would be literal. He's in charge of the 2 eyes, but that by itself would not make any sense. So it has to do with a function, in charge of something. So there must be an agency in ancient Kemet that dealt with this and was titled this. So this is something that we would look up and find out. But he's in charge of these 2 things. And then his name, Sini Wasret. Most people know it as Sin Wasret. And so this must be a big depiction of him. Let's see. All right, so you see him here. Yeah, he has some pretty broad shoulders there.
Is that a wrinkled shirt or a 6-pack?
Yeah, he has a 6-pack there going on. Yep.
He ducking off vertical.
Yeah.
So you can see where the colors got faded out. Difference in his face.
Yep, from his face to his arms, and then down here on the legs.
Man, y'all know that's an alien. Look at them feet. That's the one who put his footprint all in the rock.
Right. But then we see offering lotus, like spring onions. We see a trestled goose. We see the thigh of an ox or calf, some jars of different items and things like that. So it's a healthy offering here that you see here. But all right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hopefully that was sufficient for tonight. And, you know, we can, let me see, I could stop sharing. Go back to screen. All right, I mean, you know, does anybody have any, you know, any comments about the picture or anything that's related to the picture or anything in the picture?
Not really, but I just wanted to say that I think it's the offerings formula pretty good because you know it seems like there's always something new to learn on each and every one of them. You know, so those are good ones to work with.
And also, now that we know the name, like Sinwasaret, you can look at the style of the art as well. That's why I say if anybody who's doing this type of study and practice, stick with a genre. That's just my suggestion. You know, you can do what you want, but it's suggested to stick with a genre because then you'll start seeing patterns. You'll start seeing small patterns in individual pieces, but then overall, the whole collection that you're looking at, you'll see structure that underlie that kind of genre of text that you're dealing with. All right, so it's always good to do that. And then also you'll be able to do some more research. Now we have a name. Now you could probably look it up and see, okay, you could probably date it without even knowing what the artifact, where it's at, you know, and everything. You could pretty much get a good idea of how old it is or what era of time that it was actually created in.
Yeah, the more and more formulas we look at, the more I'm starting to see more uniqueness. I thought they was more identical, but looks like everybody put their own spin on the formula.
Yeah, the details of it. It's the overall structure that underlies it. That's kind of that's universal because it'll start off with the first phrase, which is offering the king gives, and then it's a deity's name, and then epithets, and then maybe another deity, or it's just one, and then a list of items. Then the items can vary, and then to say for the ka of, and usually for the ka of somebody or for the revered one, and then some titles, and then boom, their name. And then it will go on to say some other things because sometimes, now we haven't done one of these before, I don't think. Maybe we could find one for another time where we have invocations for the living on behalf of the deceased. For example, there are sayings that are written in stone where if you walk past a person's tomb, that if you read it, they're talking to you. They're saying, you know, basically this text is for anybody who's passed by my tomb, and then it'll give you instructions on what to do. You know, say my name, please utter my name. You know, please utter my name in the temple of Wasir in Abydos, or please utter my name in the temple of Amun in Ipitsut or Karnak, or whatever the case is. Whatever the case is, there will be instructions for the living to do, like, you know, and then it'll be it's some that have warnings, like, look, walk past my tomb and you mess with my tomb, I am going to haunt you. Or, you know, I'm paraphrasing big time, but basically there are warnings, there are instructions for what people to do and things like that. So maybe we can find one of those and do that next time. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And let me just check the chat one more time. Yeah, we've been on 2 hours, so let's just check. Any questions I overlooked? Let's see, let's go back. Oh, he said long weekend. Yeah, it is a long weekend. We could, yeah, but I just don't want to keep the video going too long. And that's another thing, you know, I was inboxed, you know, people that watch our archives, you know, that are just learning about what we're doing and what we've been doing for quite a while now, you know, they're like, you know, thanking, well, send me a message and thanking the whole entire Seshew for us doing it. And they're like, wow, you know, how come, you know, I'm just now finding out about it, and so on and so forth. And, you know, the only thing I could say to that is for those who will be watching this archive, or, you know, tune in live as we do these hangouts, just share the link and let people know, anybody you think who may be interested in learning, share it. You know, tell them to subscribe to the channel and share it out. And because, you know, right from the start, this is a kind of like a specialized interest, you know, because not everybody's gonna be interested in dealing with Sesh Medew Netcher, the hieroglyphic writing script, beyond, you know, beyond just looking at something and say, oh, that's nice, you know. So you got that right at the start. So out of the people who do show interest, you know, we have to be able to let them know that this is what we're doing. You know, if they don't know, then obviously they can't come watch live or the archive. So if you know somebody that may be interested, share it out, you know. And that's basically what I told the brother that inboxed me. I said, hey, you know, we are you know, this is not one of, you know, because this is not what do you call it, this is not gossip, this is not no internet beefs, this is not a back and forth, you know, all that stuff, which is much more popular. You know, that gets a lot more attention and people gravitate towards that. Whenever you put people to work, people tend to kind of back off. You know, have you noticed that? Like, whenever you need help from when you need help to do something, like, people, like, all of a sudden people become scarce. Well, this is kind of the same way. When you put people to work and they got to really think, and they got to study something, and they got to practice something, you know, read books and stuff like that, you know, the numbers will taper off, you know, because I'm not going to say everybody's like that at all, but the numbers will definitely taper off. So the people that watch our show, we appreciate everybody that tunes in, especially on the nights that we do it. It's 9 o'clock on Wednesdays, and 9 o'clock on Fridays. Friday night is like the weekend. You know, people want to relax and get into something different than whatever they did for the work week. So we appreciate everybody that watches us and stuff like that. So, you know, we definitely would rather have quality over quantity. So we're not, you know, we don't want to do anything just for boost up views and stuff like that. We want people to appreciate what we're doing, participate, chime in, and we're all learning together. You know, so that's the vibe we want to continue to have. All right. But if you know somebody's interested, share the links, tell them to join the Facebook group, and don't be scared. Like, some people, you know, this may be intimidating for some people, but you shouldn't be. You know, don't be scared to say anything. Because I had someone at the Black Power Awards approach me and said, hey, you know, I've been watching the videos, and so I said, well, how come you don't participate, chime in? And, you know, they said, well, I don't want to say anything wrong and be wrong and stuff like that. And I told them, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that, because we're all learning, and that's what we do. We sharpen everybody else up. We don't want to create an environment where somebody's too scared or too timid, too embarrassed to be wrong, because we're wrong sometimes. Especially, you know, on Freestyle Friday, we're going from memory. All right. So it's nothing to it. We're all learning. All right. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, that's last thing I wanted to say. If anybody else have any comments, please do so. And if not, we can close out. I'll say ETM Hotel, the brother Satep and Ra. I know you try to sneak up in here a little bit.
Hotel.
Yeah, hotel.
Hotel.
All right. Yeah, we about wrapping it up. Yeah, Satep sneaking in. You gotta watch Satep. Satep will creep on in here, and then all of a sudden he'll just break down the whole picture, you know, in the chat. While we struggling, Satep will just type it all out in the chat. You know, we gotta watch Satep. Satep will pretend he's like, oh, you know,
too much sauce, man. It's too much sauce.
Yeah, Satep Satep's excuse. Let me just tell on Satep. Satep's excuse is like, oh, y'all know I'm rusty, you know, because I got I'm handling business and stuff, and I'm a little bit rusty. But then he'll just come in here and be like, column 1 is but da. Column 2 is that. And we're like, okay, man. Satep, if that's rusty, But he said it's too much sauce. But nah, Satep is straight. And plus, like I said, this thing, once you learn it, it's like, as they say, we're riding a bike. Even if you don't ride a bike for a long time, it's just a matter of getting on it, and then everything just come back to you anyway. And I know Satep can attest to that because we've seen it, So Satep, I don't know if you have any comments to make, but we're going to wrap it up. But I'll give you a chance to say any comments if you have any.
No, that's all good.
All right. Well, with that, I will mute my mic and pass it over to Sonnet Emiket. And yeah, maybe you can give us the meaning of your name, and close us out if you don't mind. I'm on the spot.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. So yes, so my divination name is Emiket Aku Kinshai, and that means one who follows the ancestors to accomplish the destiny. So, and that is absolutely fitting with me. So that is my divination name that I'll be using from here on. And with that, I would like to close up by saying dua and great appreciation for those who tuned in and those who are going to be tuning in on the archives. Please do remember to share the videos that we have on any social media platforms that you're using. And if you haven't joined the group page, do that. That's Seshew Medew Netcher on Facebook. And there's also online classes starting soon. So if you're interested in learning the language, you can contact Mujao or anybody else in the group about the classes. I think they will give you the right directions on how to, get started with that. And you can also check out the webpage, which is mdw-ntr.com, mdw-ntr.com. And you can find a lot of information. And there we have some of the inscriptions that we have transliterated and translated. There's also a community page that you can join, and a couple of articles and all of that stuff. There's resources as well. There's you can join. There's free membership. There's paid membership, which obviously comes with benefits as well. So you can make a choice to see what kind of plan you want to be on. But do check out the webpage, www.mdw-ntr.com, mdw-ntr.com. And yes, and just make sure that you join the group page as well. And thank you once again, Dua, for tuning in, and for those who are going to be tuning in. And with that, I'll just like to close out by saying, get an affair, which is good night, or beck an affair for those who have morning time right now. And Sheme Motep, go in peace.